that we understand that whoever that advises the president in this regard should be very, very, intelligent, because it is no longer about their selfish desires. It is no longer about the everyday politics that they play. This is no longer about, no, Nnamdi Kanu spoke against me. Tinubu, Nnamdi Kanu, I don't like Nnamdi Kanu because he didn't like me. I don't like it. This is not about personal opinion or personal vendetta against Nnamdi Kanu. Be you a state actor, be you a judge, be you a president. It is not about personal vendetta. Nnamdi Kanu spoke to me in a way I don't like. Be you a governor from the eastern region of Nigeria, it's no longer about you. It is about Nigeria. As much as we are being marginalized, we are being dealt with by the system, as much as we see that, I don't think that we would want Nigeria to be a war-torn country, right? But the problem is that the people in power are so insensitive that they don't look at, the people that are, they are leading. They just look at their personal opinion. They just think about their selfish aggrandizement. They just think about things that favors them. That is the reason why we are in this, conundrum that we found ourselves right now. If you think that we are that stupid, that seeing exactly the antecedent of those big world all over the place, and we are calling on them to come to assist, knowing everything that is going on in the world, knowing their interest. Don't get it twisted. Don't think as if we don't know that there is interest. There is always interest. So which interest is in alignment with the interest of the people, because it's now about the people. It's no longer about the government. The government interest is always, one-sided. It's always about them. It's always for them. So this time around, the people are looking for interest that might favor them in any means possible. You talk about America coming into Nigeria to explore their mineral resources. Yes, we understand that, but Chinese is already stealing it through black market, through, state actors. You talk about, America coming into Nigeria to, grape women, to unalive people. Boko Haram is already doing it. They are raping women, abducting them in high numbers, and they are doing it. And we are now saying that America will come and do it. We've seen these things happening. Now, if you are placed on a crossroad, and you don't know which way to turn, now, I can categorically tell you now that what you are seeing in Nigeria situation right now is basically the decisions made by your leaders that warranted to this unaliving of innocent people, raping of women, burning of churches, and destruction of properties. It is because the leadership in Nigeria do not care about ordinary people. They care about the money, the bag. So since they care about the bag, the people whom their family members and their loved ones are being unalive began to do the talk and do the work. That's why their voices are heard across the world. Now, since their voices are heard across the world, how is it going to be of a significant value to us eventually if there is an intervention from external influence into Nigeria to fight this, insurgency that is killing innocent people in Nigeria? On whose interest will that be? So again, we I, for one, I would say that United States shouldn't come to Nigeria. I, for one, if there was a contingency plan being put in place by the government of the day to make sure that those who are unalived through this mayhem committed by the terrorists are being, are being taken care of. Their loved ones they leave behind are being taken care of. Those people who have been oppressed, the Biafran people who have been oppressed, and systemic massacre and ethnic, genocide against the Biafrans are being, there should be a plan put in place for these people to be negotiated with so that we will find a way to carry them along and to see exactly what is their demand. How do we solve their problem? Because they are the ones wearing this shoe. They know the solution to it. So if you cannot actually, connect with the people who are facing the spikes of these incidents, you are not willing to listen to the people, you are not willing to stop the insecurity, you are not willing to stop the human rights violation, you are not willing to stop interfering with the judicial system, why do you think people will begin to speak in favor of that country or in favor of that system that is being run by a man that is so selfish? It's impossible. So, if your president is sensitive enough, if he is sensitive enough, believe you me, tomorrow is Nnamdi Kanu's court hearing. First of all, to assure Nigerians that he is a president that is driven by intelligence, rationality, and not emotion, and not by personal vendetta, because the reason why African leadership fails is that when someone talks against you, you want to unalive them because they talk against you. You don't know that the reason why you are a leader is because people must be able to speak against you at all time. You absorb them and you see the ones which are the truth and how you are going to correct the problem. That's your inability in Africa. And as long as that becomes inability for you in Africa, there is no way African children will not stop calling for external influence to come and intervene in their problem, just like many Nigerians are calling for the United States to go into Nigeria and do whatever they want to do, because we know that they are going to do something. Right? Now let's actually think about it in this way. For those of you who are saying, because a lot of them are calling for the boycott of Nicki Minaj, the quote unquote, the Fulani Muslims are calling for the boycott of Nicki Minaj, and those are affiliated with Nigeria, Muslims. They are calling for the boycott of Nicki Minaj because Nicki Minaj came on the stage and said that there is a Christian genocide in Nigeria, and they are now calling for people to boycott or cancel Nicki Minaj, as if they even knew who Nicki Minaj was, because these are Janjaweeds. Janjaweeds all over the place are now calling for Nicki Minaj. They will finish playing their chankarara, that's bullshit music they play after they have unalive people and kidnap people. So they will finish playing some of them play, Indian movies, Indian musics. They don't even play Western music. So I don't even think that some of them knows Nicki Minaj, except that their influencers are now showing it on their, Facebook pages, because I believe it's not a problem to Nicki Minaj. Now, let me tell you what I think. I'm going Jibby Jabby, which is 2019 and the 2023 time of Jibby Jabby, where you wear something in your face. During those days, there was a time Nicki Minaj actually spoke. During the time of Joe Biden's administration in the United States, Nicki Minaj came up at some point to speak against that, Jibby Jabby, what it is doing to the people, using her platform to advocate for people, even though how, media was canceling anybody who come up with that idea to use their platform to, advocate for the, side effect of these things, and they encourage people not to go for the Jibby Jabby. But eventually, Nicki Minaj used her platform to advocate for that. Remember, many of you must have forgotten, as she used her platform to advocate for that, you know what they did during the time of Joe Biden's administration? They called her, invited her to the White House. Immediately when she used her platform to announce that she's invited to the White House, they came up and say it's a lie, just to rubbish her name. So she's been she advocates for humanity. She used her platform to advocate for humanity. That is the reason why I just went back to this. It is not because I just use it as a reference to remind you that it's not about Nigeria that Nicki Minaj said what she said. She believes she have a root, she believes her ancestral root traced to Indian, traced to Africa. So she still have a say in things that are happening in Africa. So in this regard, we are not calling for the cancellation of Nicki Minaj. We are calling for empowerment of Nicki Minaj. That's exactly what we are calling for. So coming back to the point, the Muslims who are calling for her cancellation does not listen to her music because they don't believe in people dressing the way Nicki Minaj dress. They believe in people covering their faces. So why would they care about Nicki Minaj's music? They never cared about it. So they shouldn't come with that, they are very, very manipulative people. That's one thing I have noticed about them. They are so manipulative that, to the point that, you wouldn't even understand when any atom of truth is coming out from these guys. They are liars, they are deceivers, they are killers. That's what they do. So again, those of you who believe that she did the wrong thing, you are part of the problem. I can tell you. You are part of the problem. You don't know the struggle of the people because some of you are sitting on your comfort zone. You don't know the struggle of the people on the ground. You are just thinking that, no, they want to sell Africa to Nigeria to America. No. The Nnamdi Kanu's case is a typical example of the human rights violation going on in Nigeria. It is not about that. Dude, no, I don't think that many of these people who talks about this understand even geopolitics like I do. I do understand geopolitics, how in fact there are things they call conspiracy theory into geopolitics that we know. Of course, we cannot discuss on this platform, but there are things they call conspiracy theory in all those areas that we know. And I don't think that we calling for help, because that help, we could call it from Russia. We could call that that help from Russia. China, you can't call it from China because China is already in Nigeria, mining mineral resources almost for free. They are part of the problem. They are part of those, empowering the jihad in Nigeria. You cannot call help from them. So it is not as if that people are calling for help just because that they are Americans. That we are calling because we believe that America is better than everyone. No, we don't. It is the people who recognize the killing of innocent people in Nigeria. That's why we turned to them. But honestly, if there is a president in Nigeria today, if this president woke up today to say that Nigeria is due for restructuring, if this president woke up today, just like he said a few days ago, that justice is not for sale in Nigeria, since justice is not for sale in Nigeria, and the Nigeria president actually said it with his own mouth, that justice cannot be for sale in Nigeria. So if he meant it, I don't think that justice for Nnamdi Kanu should be for sale, because this should be one of the priorities of the government, because there is something that led to Nnamdi Kanu's movement. Something led to another. There is no way you will tell me that Nnamdi Kanu is being, or the Biafran people were being given the same thing that was given to Fulani, the same thing that was given to Yorubas. Opportunities were actually equal distribution of opportunity and wealth of Nigeria equally. I don't think there will be disgruntledness in many Nigerians that we have today. I don't think that in this situation that Nigeria should be divided in, their opinion, but because there has never been a president who understands the role of leadership in Nigeria, that's why people are disgruntled. The people who are in support of the administration and the presidency are the people who are benefiting from the administration. Since they are benefiting from the administration, they will never speak anything negative about where they are eating from. Just like Reno Omokri. We understand when Reno Omokri was saying the truth about the existing president, and eventually Reno Omokri turned 360. And in fact, if he turned 360, he's going to land where he faced. He turned 280. Or 180, he turned 180. So at the end of the day, you look at it, you see yourself that there is no way that you are going to cry that people will hear you. And there is no distribution of the wealth of Nigeria. There is no equal distribution of Nigeria wealth. What we are seeing is people being prosecuted upon that wealth that is not distributed equally. People are unalive. We know what happened where people were doing bunkering around Imo State, where around Imo State, people were set alight and they claimed that there was an explosion, that the light, it was the military that set people alight at that time. People were roasted all over the place. Cars were torched. It was the military to stop the bunkering, but military could not go into Sambisa Forest and touch Sambisa Forest for all the people who are operating from there, abducting Christian and raping women, to stop. They didn't. But in Biafra land, in Christian land, they touched a place where people are doing bunkering, and they all were burnt alive. And they think we didn't know. All this war we saw in Imo State was well orchestrated by the government of Imo State because of the mineral resources that is discovered in that region, because we know that there is surplus of minerals in Imo State. So these things happened, but we are not cognizant of that fact. And we know that the government is not willing to hear the people's cry. The government is willing to prosecute you when you talk against him, because he does not know that you gave him power to rule over you. You gave him power to control your share of the economy so that they put it together and make a better nation. But immediately when you start crying because they are not delivering from the mandate that was given to them by you, because they don't understand what democracy is, they begin to prosecute you. Just like Nnamdi Kanu is being prosecuted today, has been in in DSS dungeon prior to 2020, from 2021 or 2020, when they kidnapped him from Kenya, to the extent that the appellate court of competent jurisdiction declared that Nnamdi Kanu should be discharged, because Nigeria had no jurisdiction to continue with the case, because everything that Nigeria is being charged was not done in Nigeria, and the issue of jurisdiction, an issue of extraordinary rendition, quashed and nullified the Nnamdi Kanu standing trial in Nigeria. So they went to appeal court, Supreme Court, which Supreme Court now took back the case to, High Court, to small court. Now the small court or the lower court decided that they will neglect the fact that Nnamdi Kanu was brought to Nigeria illegally, and that is undermining the protocols of the law. And that is the reason why Appellate Court of Nigeria will grant Nnamdi Kanu such application that he filed to stop the judgment in the High Court tomorrow. Now, In this regard, there is no way, if the appeal court did not respond before tomorrow or today, that means the judgment that the High Court is going to pass is going to stand tomorrow. Then of course, it doesn't end there. There is appeal court for appeal. There is Supreme Court again for more appeal. So the thing there is that what we are asking from all these things we have touched on, that Nigeria itself and the president of Nigeria or the leaders of Nigeria, seeing that Nnamdi Kanu committed no crime, but his only crime is that he said, Pharaoh, let my people go. And he couldn't have said, Pharaoh, let my people go, if Pharaoh was treating his people right. If Pharaoh was good to his people, he was not going to. There was not going to be Nnamdi Kanu today that is known by the whole world. If Pharaoh was treating his people good, if Pharaoh was protecting his people and not trying to enslave his people and not trying to, Islamize his people and not sending terrorists into the bushes of the people, you will never hear about Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu is heard today, is known today as a result of terrorists taking over all the bushes in Nigeria, attacking people, kidnapping and demanding ransom, unaliving farmers, herders, clash. They claim it is farmer header clashes, but these are the same people, the same Boko Haram. They were changing themselves. Budaya Lafia said that the Boko Haram will begin to, disguise themselves. Some of them will be Boko Haraming in the Sambisa forest. The other one of them will, masquerade themselves as bandits or headers into communities and start taking over the communities. That's exactly what we heard, and that is exactly what we've seen, because the type of guns and arms and ammunitions that are being controlled by these so-called headers, it is only Boko Haram. So we've seen that they were all in all bushes in Nigeria. Yoruba people even created a security to counter these people. If not for Nnamdi Kanu and the emergence of Nnamdi Kanu and the Eastern Security Network, there is no way Biafra land or Igbo land will be free today from Fulani that are killing Christians, because their plan is to overrun the whole nation and Islamize the people that they have killed into submission. Just like they are doing in Kogi State. They have started their jihad in Kogi State. They are now being integrated into leadership position in Kogi State today. Why is that? I was still coming out clear. So if we are actually experiencing these things happening, the government is not proactive, rather we see state actors being involved. Why do you think that you will not see people who are going to speak against the government, and the government does not have right to jail them because they speak against them? You don't have right to jail your critics, because those are the people who, because of course we don't practice democracy. If we are practicing democracy, we know that under the democratic, if we are democratic nation or constitutional democratic nation, constitution permits people for freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of public gathering, But when you do so, Nigeria police will unalive you. Why is that? Nigeria police and army, when they are trying to, disembark protesters, they point the gun like this on the people and with live ammunition. But when they go to the bushes to fight these terrorists, they point the gun like this, shooting it on air. Surrender now, you could be a president tomorrow. Surrender now, you could be a president tomorrow. That's what they do. They negotiate with the terrorists and they kill civilians on a cold blood. Civilians with no guns. And you think that Nnamdi Kanu was wrong. Nnamdi Kanu is not wrong. If you jail him, another Nnamdi Kanu will rise up. Don't think that if you jail him, it's going to, everything is all right. No, you are radicalizing the movement. That's exactly the thing that Nigeria does not understand, because you cannot jail everybody at the same time, and you have already known that Nnamdi Kanu has given birth to many of him. So one thing you should understand is that Nnamdi Kanu is a free man in the eyes of the law. A law that does not have eyes. A law that does not know tribe. A law that does not know, Igbo, religion. Nnamdi Kanu is a free man tomorrow. Nnamdi Kanu is a free man tomorrow. You see, I don't think there is anybody who is under stress like Omotoshe if eventually the executive have commanded him to deliver a jungle justice. I don't think there is anyone who is highly stressed right now than the judge presiding over that case. But I can categorically tell you that Nnamdi Kanu is a free man tomorrow. Because him delivering a judgment that is going to be against Nnamdi Kanu he is dividing Nigeria. Let me give you the examples, because I can give you, after tomorrow, I can give you 20 reasons why America should come into Nigeria. After tomorrow, I could give you 100 reasons why America should not come into Nigeria. Tomorrow we'll decide what exactly is going to happen, because it is human rights violation that brought us to this. It is giving terrorists a leeway and olive branch to even have access to be a president and vice president in Nigeria that brought us to this. If they were giving terrorists their olive branch and giving innocent Nigerians who are just criminals the same olive branch they are giving terrorists, which means every ground is leveled, then we will have at least hope that there is a future for everyone in Nigeria eventually. But we are fighting a system that does not want us to excel. Now we will have hope, but as long as there is no such, people are giving olive branch on the basis that they are Muslim. They have right to honor life because their Quran told them so. So they are giving olive branch when they decide that they are not going to listen to their Quran and come clean. You give them olive branch to the point that they are now vice president, or they are now going to be president tomorrow. Why do you think they are not going to continue? Because you bring in their Fulani mercenaries. They will continue to bring in their Fulani mercenaries. Just what they need to do is that they buy people. They come out, they surrender. You give them position, you give them presidency, or you give them to the army. Now they are now gaining ground. That's why Uthman Dan Fodio's emblem is the emblem that Nigeria army was found. That's why I say Nigeria army can never defeat Boko Haram, because they are not willing to defeat them. But we can defeat Boko Haram. We can defeat terrorists if Nigeria is not divided by politicians. Because Nigeria is today divided by the politicians. Whatever they are telling you, the case of Nnamdi Kanu, the way they are going about it, how they are handling it, is dividing Nigeria 100%. If Nnamdi Kanu is not released tomorrow, the campaign for a US to come into Nigeria will stay alive, because it is campaign for humanity. I know that if Nnamdi Kanu is released, at least one of the things he could put in place, he has the mind, he has the ability to stop to stop the insecurity in Nigeria. That's why we are calling for his release. He has the ability to cover a solution that will solve the insecurity in Nigeria. So if they cannot release the very intelligent mind that can cover solution for the insecurity in Nigeria, if they cannot release him, then we don't have any other choice than to call external influence to come in and give us freedom that we are looking for in the hands of terrorists. Because if the people who knows what to do are being caged, while the people who does not know what to do are walking free, and the criminals that they're supposed to be chasing are being integrated into positions in the presidency and position in the Nigeria force. What is the use of us thinking about the oil that America will suck from Nigeria? What is the use for us to be thinking about the lithium that America is going to take from Nigeria? What is the use for us to be thinking about the californium that America is going to take from Nigeria? What is the use for us to be thinking about of the uranium that is deposited? We know it's in the northern Nigeria, but I know that it can be discovered everywhere around Nigeria, but they are focusing on northern Nigeria because they don't want to announce the discovery of all these resources in the east, because the oil already is, they believe that the oil already is making the east hold them ransom, but the east is not even holding them ransom, but because the east is now being marginalized and being suppressed so that they won't have that wings to hold Nigeria ransom for the sake of the oil that is coming out from their soil. They're not holding them ransom. That's why they don't want to announce the rest of the resources that are found in the eastern Nigeria. That's why you see those deposits happening in the northern Nigeria. Now, to be honest with you, the significant minerals where it is, the significant minerals are, think about it geographically. Let's look at the North Pole of this earth. If you know the North Pole of the earth, you find out that it is after the Arctic Circle, which is the Tropic of Cancer. You find the North Pole, and away from the North Pole, which is about maybe away from the North Pole, you get the tropics, the Capricorn, then equator. So every country that is within and around the equator, they have a rich deposit of mineral resources, different types of them. That's why DRC is around maybe 10. DRC is around the equator. Maybe they are not in the equator, but either they are beneath the equator with 20 degrees. The mineral deposit that is in these countries, because now the energy movement, the energy oscillation or acceleration is moving in Fibonacci frequency pattern. So as it is moving and scattering across the earth, the mineral deposit is happening within the tropics. So if you look at where we are as Nigeria, those that are close to the equator, 0 degrees, and those that are actually, away from the equator, maybe 10 degrees, 5 degrees, those people are rich in minerals. Very rich in minerals. And again, those that are up to 30 degrees southern latitude, they are rich in mineral, because those are closer to the energy dissipation in the close to Antarctic area, which is Tropic of Capricorn. They are also rich in mineral deposits. So these people, they know very well. It is not as if the Western countries does not have minerals. They do have their own minerals, different types of minerals, because all of these minerals are deposited on the ground. Everything comes from the ground. That's why we are told that we all came from the ground, and we all are going back to the ground, because the ground has everything. The ground is the source. Now, we have all these things. It turned to be a curse to us, right? And since it's a curse to us, there are people who could take it. If they take it, at least we might feel safe. Or if we are fighting the enemy that doesn't look like us. Because I, for one, I don't want to fight an Hausa man or Yoruba man on the basis that we have misunderstanding or squabbles of who will be the presidency or who will. I rather fight America than fight an Hausa man on a battle, or fight a Yoruba man in a battle. So if the Yoruba man, Hausa man, you cannot come together and say enough is enough, injustice is enough, let's organize a referendum, let's us find a solution to curb these challenges that we are facing by resetting the system. If you cannot do that, I'd rather not fight you. I'd rather invite America. If they start misbehaving, I'd rather fight them than to fight you. It is not too big to ask. We are not anti-blacks. We are not anti-African solidarity. We are pro-black people. That's why we are calling for a better deal for all Nigerians. And if you do not want us to do it in a way that it will favor everyone, and we have actually suggested, Nnamdi Kanu started with, let us go back to regional government, because Nigeria system is supposed to be on a regional system or a true federal system of government. But today we are into centralism system of government. Why? How do you think that a nation will ever go well, or a nation will ever grow, ever, when they move away from regional system to centralism? It's impossible, because now we have governors. Yes, you are practicing regional centralism or regiocentralism. I don't know what you call that. You have governors who does not have right. They don't have right to deploy, even the military, right? It is centralized. We have governors who cannot actually, make use of the resources that they have and use it to diversify and grow the economy of the state and paying tax to the central government. It is not done. It is the central government that are allocated. Why is that? People supposed to make use of what is in their ground. Nnamdi Kanu started with that request, and started with requesting for Iguacha Seaport, Calabar Seaport, Onitsha second bridge to be built, so that we will know that there is something to write home about from referral. And then when we begin to talk of whether we're going back to regional government or not. But he was actually swept under the carpet, and the young man, or the man, was taken and apprehended and named all sort of criminal, tagged with criminal, activities, branded names like terrorist, treasonable felony, and all that. They called him so many names just because he suggested the things that will make us to go away from this misery called Nigeria system run by British, virtually. Tinubu came into power. He undermined the power of the United States, unlike his predecessor, who embraced Obama and they make sure that the terrorists were fed. Because during the Obama's administration, you can bear me that witness. I know I cut off for seconds there, but Obama, what's going on? We heard about terrorists that are being fed, and the same Donald Trump today came up to tell us, I was still coming out clear. Donald Trump today came up to tell, his administration revealed to us that during the time of Obama, or during the time of Democrats regime, that there was sponsor of terrorism. Boko Haram they paid money to Boko Haram. And you cannot say that is a lie, because Obama removed Goodluck for being the fastest growing economy in Africa and installed Buhari using Chibok girls. We saw Michelle Obama protesting for Chibok girls, for abduction of Chibok girls, but we are not seeing Michelle Obama now protesting about the killing of Christians. We saw these things happening. So the same Trump who recognized the killing of Christians was the same administration that exposed the sponsorship of Boko Haram by America, by the United States. So I believe that he is better. If they could remove Goodluck Jonathan, educated professor, and give you a Buhari Alamajiri, What do you think? And he brought that growing economy down to zero, inflation to the highest level. Everything was rascalized. So, what do you think? There is still a better option there. But like I said, releasing Nnamdi Kanu tomorrow, Judge Omotoshe, you will have it in your record that you were the worst judge of our generation. It will never be erased in your curriculum that you gave a jungle justice, even with using a judicial system. It will never be erased in your record. I want you to tag Judge Omotoshe to this broadcast. It doesn't matter how many people Facebook is giving us or YouTube is giving us. This is a sensitive matter we are talking about. They don't normally give us, that, live view because they know what we are capable of. But they might give us in, pre-recorded video or podcast because they know. They watch the sensitivity of what we talk about. And they know that we know our story. Like I know my story when I'm talking about them. Not talking about them as a novice. I know the story. So in this regard, tag him because he is going to be the worst judge. He is going to hold the worst curriculum vitae or curriculum vitae. Eventually, if he deliver judgment that actually, against Nnamdi Kanu, who has committed no crime known to any law, who was extraordinary rendition from Kenya, and the issue of extraordinary rendition on Motoshe, you refuse to entertain it, which is the procedural error in your proceedings. It's a procedural error that is found in your, court, processes. You refuse to entertain the jurisdiction. You refuse to rule about, on issue of jurisdiction. You refuse to rule on the issue of extraordinary rendition. What type of law are you presiding over? What type of law, what type of courtroom are you presiding over? With all due respect, Judge Omotoshe, my lord, because before a court will proceed, they should always make sure that every background, anything that will be obstruction to the ruling of the court proceedings are tackled. That's why in some certain places, they will eventually establish a trial within a trial to ascertain whether there is anything that will hinder this court to proceed with the business of the day, but you do not care because you do not know law. But you are a judge. Except if you know law, maybe you do know law, of course, you know law. Pardon me for that, but you are biased, which is not supposed to be in the courtroom. A biased judge gives jungle justice and jungle judgment. So, but I'm still optimistic, Motoshe. I am still very optimistic that you are going to do, something that is right. Still very optimistic, even though it is almost impossible to be optimistic, having seen what displayed the last time in the courtroom. But I'm still optimistic, believe you me, that you will do the right thing, or you will say not in your name. You will be the most honorable judge ever existed in our time when you rise up to say, not in your name, right? It's better you quit the case instead of allowing them to mess up your curriculum vitae. If they mess up your curriculum vitae, I don't think there is any international stage that will look at you as a competent judge. They will look at you as a biased judge at all time. You are biased on the basis of ethnicity. So It is up to you. There is something I want to read before we call it a day. Let me read it quickly before I actually remind you for the last time. Nigeria. All right, let's read this quickly. Lawyers asked Tinubu to enter Nole Prosequi. Nole Prosequi in Nnamdi Kanu's case. End all trials in obedience to court orders. Did you hear that? Nole Prosequi, meaning Tinubu should say the federal government is no longer interested in pursuing the issue of Nnamdi Kanu. That is what the lawyers, not Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers, right? This is the members of the Law Society asking Tinubu to enter Nole Prosequi to say we are no longer interested in proceeding with the case. So let justice take its course. Then Nnamdi Kanu will be discharged and acquitted from all these frivolous charges leveled against him. But as we are there, let's proceed with the reading. According to him, the court order in suit number ABJ /CMC /CRC /21 /2015 was blatantly ignored by the Department of State Service. Okay, that's something else. Former legal counsel to the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, has written an open letter to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu urging him to intervene decisively in the prosecution. The lawyer Vincent Egechukwu Obeta, ESQ, called for the immediate release of Nnamdi Kanu and advised the president to direct Attorney General of Federal High Court to consider entering Nola Prosequi, effectively ending the case. Now, I'm not going to continue to read this. I am going to look for something where the president said that justice is not for sale in Nigeria. We remember that, right? Justice is not for sale in Nigeria. So let me look for that. One moment. So that we will play that. Let's look for it and play it maybe here. Now, hear it. One moment. Let me play it from the phone because it is going to be. Otherwise, we'll read it. Let's read it. It will be better. Because if I play the voice, they will start removing you from watching. Lawmakers was the ones who asked Tinubu to do that. Then, before these lawyers came in, justice. Just one moment. Is Okay, I am looking for the reading. I rather read it than to play the video because playing the video they will cancel me if I do so. So I found it. Let's share it with the screen to the screen. I don't know if you can see it. All right, let's make it smaller. Okay, I am going to read. If you are still listening, share the video, do the like the video. So look at this. Justice must not, okay, justice must never be for sale. Tinubu tells judges. Who are those judges? I hope Omotoshe is part of them. Let me zoom it in so that you see it better. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Monday cautioned judicial officers across the country that must remain sacred, that justice must remain sacred and insulated from corruption, declaring that justice must never be for sale. Speaking at the opening of the 2025 All Progression. Damn. This is the advert that I am avoiding. I don't want to read anymore, but I'm not reading anymore, but we saw that. That's I wanted to read the headings. You see the way that Facebook started removing everyone once I play that on the screen and start, you know, bringing people from it. So it is always like that. That's why. So let me close it. It is drastically affecting the broadcast. So all I can say is that Tinubu said justice should not be for sale. I hope it is not just a mere saying, so that what they will do tomorrow, he will say that he is not involved or he is taking himself out of it before it happens. We know that we are not stupid. We are not kids. Even Nnamdi Kanu is jailed. Tinubu jailed innocent man to protect terrorists in the bush. Therefore, we need external influence, external intervention to come and stop this menace of terrorists killing Christians, targeting Christian and people because of their ethnicity. That is exactly what we're going to do. That is exactly what we will do because we will know that no one is safe. And instead of us start rising up to fight each other, it is better that that time comes we rise up to fight the external aggressor instead of fighting each other. That is my take on this, and I am not going to speak further, on that. We have heard Gumi saying that terrorists must be protected. We have heard Gumi saying that terrorists should be treated like every other Nigerians. But Nnamdi Kanu is now exceptional. The Eastern governors, you guys are wherever you are right now, you'll be waiting for Omotoshi to deliver the judgment that you people must have planned with Tinubu, if illegal or not illegal, but it doesn't matter. If Nnamdi Kanu is jailed or is sentenced, you Eastern governors should know that the people will never give you peace, because the people of, you know, that follows Nnamdi Kanu and the people of Biafra, they know that Nnamdi Kanu is the only man that care about them. So if you take that man through this route that you guys have been planning to jail him, I don't think Tinubu will be the ones who will face the consequences from the people, because it is democracy. The power belongs to the people. It is not going to be Tinubu. It is going to be those governors in the eastern Nigeria. That is it. Call for the release of Nnamdi Kanu tomorrow. You still have how many hours from Nigeria? It is basically 7:42 in Nigeria time right now. We still have like 7 to 9 o'clock tomorrow. Still have like maybe 12 hours. Perhaps. Still have like 12 hours to decide that Nnamdi Kanu is not guilty, for the sake of asking for Pharaoh to let his people go. Because if Pharaoh was treating his people correct, good, he wouldn't ask that, Pharaoh let his people go. But the system created Nnamdi Kanu, and the system, you are trying to use injustices to deal with Nnamdi Kanu, and that will be worst for the system, because the system is going to eventually collapse before our eyes. Because we cannot be patriotic to a system that is not patriotic to us. We cannot be protecting an evil system that is killing us and jailing people who want to protect us. That's it. That's my take. I don't know about you. So this is where I'm going to wrap it up. Until we meet again. Eastern governors, the ball is in your court. You have 12 hours before the judgment will be, to correct your wrongs and right, so that you start on a clean slate and we'll move on, asking peacefully like we've always been, while asking peacefully, protecting the interest of our people and protecting our people from the attacks of terrorism. We know that it is not too much because of Nnamdi Kanu in the eastern Nigeria today. You should give them that credit. Because of him, we do not have those amount of killings that the Hausa people are going through. Hausa Christian communities are going through. It is because of that man. But if you jail him, that means you are starting the insecurity in Nigeria. You are the ones causing insecurity in Nigeria when you jail Nnamdi Kanu, because he stood against the insecurity, and a man who stood against the insecurity and it was effective, he will use effective means to curb that insecurity in a particular region. He could still use it to curb it in every other region. Jail him, and then you have jailed the whole Biafrans. That's what you will do. Bye for now.